Welcome, everyone, to Staying Sharp with Nelly Korda. My name is Tim Matthews, Head of Marketing at Exabeam. I'll be your host. I'm really happy that all of you could join us for this very special event. We thought it'd be fun to talk to Nelly about how she's staying sharp during this downturn. And, it's a theme that we think bridges our sponsored athletes at Exabeam as well as our customers and prospects. What can you do to make sure you stay on top of your game, even when circumstances change quite a bit? I know not all of you follow the LPGA, which is a shame because there's some amazing talent out there. But let me tell you a bit about Nelly. She just turned pro in 2016, so just 4 years ago. She already has an impressive 3 wins. She is number 2 in the world. And a stat that I am just amazed about is in just these couple of years, she's already has 25 top 10 finishes. She also is undefeated in Solheim Cup play, and she and her sister Jessica make for a pretty intimidating team.
Hey guys, I'm super excited to be here today. Hopefully, I can help you guys out with a couple of drills I have for you. Please feel free to ask questions. No questions are stupid. I would love to answer every one of them. I think the first thing when it comes to putting, it's all about fundamentals. Fundamentals are really big in golf. When I first started playing, my coach, I was super lucky to have a really fun coach. She would always make sure, I would first probably 10, 15 minutes before my putting practice, I would always do my fundamentals, step in, walk-ins, everything. And, even over playing golf for I don't know how many years, ever since I started walking, I've always stuck to very simple drills. As a player, there's different types of players. There's players that really like a lot of technique, and there's, it ranges. But I'm the type of player that, I like super simple. The less I think about, the better on the golf course, because then I'm free. So a super simple drill that I really like to do, that I always start out, even before my golf rounds for tournaments that I do, sometimes I'm lucky because other players do this. So it's actually on the green. It's a chalk line that you can get at any Lowe's or Home Depot. It looks just like this brand. You just take a tee. Unfortunately, I just have one tee. You take a tee, you put it behind the hole, and usually you just want to do like 4 feet, 5 feet, because the longer you go, then there's more break. And so I do the chalk line, and that's where, I check how fast I want it to go inside the hole, because there's different ways. You can practice firm, you can practice that it just goes in, just barely goes in, or a normal pace. But what I do here is, like, thankfully I have this putting mat today, which I can show you. So you see how there's a line here? So the chalk line is the same thing. So you pretty much just line up where I have this line on my putter right here. So you line this top line to this line on the ground, and you just try to stroke it. I don't know how this is going to break, even if I'm going to make this. So you just try to match it up with this line on top of that line. And I probably do 50 in a row, and when I'm practicing, not before a round. But when I'm practicing, I do 50 in a row just to check how my stroke is, my weight. And before I probably go out and play tournaments, I probably do 15 of those. And it's super simple, but super effective. I think that's like the number one drill for me.
And Nelly, this is Tim. That's really for your is that for your feet, or is that for your putter, or both, to have that line on the ground?
It's for both. It's amazing. So I have a long stick. So I put a stick down and match it up to the line, and I just line up perfectly. So my feet are lined up to the line, and obviously this line is perfectly lined up as well.
Yeah. So, and is that a problem that you see amateurs that you play with and pro-ams, that their feet and their putter are lined up on a different line? You see that very often?
Yeah, especially in pro-ams. They get really choppy. People get really choppy with putting. I don't think they know that the last thing you want to do in putting is be very handsy. You want your whole body to work together. So like in a golf swing, let's say, like it's the same thing. Fundamentally in golf, you want your whole body to work together. So like for me, I'll be on the golf course playing around and I'll just put this club like this and I'll just try to move. So my whole body moves together. Or if I'm putting, I put the end of the grip right in my belly button, grip it, come down, and I try to move together as well.
Oh, interesting.
And that's actually one of like the first things I learned when putting, because it's super simple. As I said, I'm very simple. I'm not going to be like, oh, you have to make your stroke this long and then this long, you know. I'm just like more of like a feel player. So I would say like my weight, I always try, my coach always does this little drill with me where I drop my left arm and I try to kind of reach for my knee without obviously bending like this, but like just relax. And I try to just kind of reach for my knee and then I grip the club and then my shoulders are pretty square, because no matter how you grip the club, it's obviously different, but I grip my club with left hand high, right hand low. Mm-hmm. So I'm always going to have this kind of like, one shoulder is going to be higher than the other, but what you want to do is try to make them as level as possible, because the more level they are, the better you'll move together.
And I have kind of before we see the next drill, I kind of have a general question. Can you tell us, it's kind of a two-parter, mm-hmm. when you're not playing, how many hours a day do you practice versus workout? And then of your practice time, how much of it is putting and chipping, I guess, versus like mm-hmm. on the range?
As in workout, do you mean in the gym?
Yeah, mm-hmm. Or whatever you do, running or gym or whatever.
So I work out 6 times a week. I take Sundays off. And then I play golf 6 times a week, usually when I'm like in season.
Yep.
And as in what I do in the gym, I do 6 times a week, I do weightlifting. So I do upper body one day, lower body, upper body, and then actually upper body, lower body, and then I do speed. So like medicine balls, like against the wall, mm-hmm. I try to just pick up my speed. And then I do that till the weekends. And and then I also do, I run usually for 15 to 20 minutes after the hour-long workout.
Right.
And then as in golf, I absolutely hate beating balls on the range. I get so
Really?
bored. I hate doing it. Yeah, I'm just like, there's types of players that will hit 2 buckets of balls, but I'd rather be on a putting green or chipping and like, or just being on the golf course, because to be honest, my coach played professional golf and he is very, very like visual, and he probably has the best short game alive. He's improved my short game so much. And he always has told me, you don't get better on the range. You actually get worse, because on the range, you have a target. And if you miss that target, if you're a perfectionist, like for me, I try to be a perfectionist when it comes to golf. So mm-hmm. I try to hit every ball straight. And I think it's so bad, because then like the wind picks up and you start pulling your ball, but it's going straight. But mm-hmm. then when you get on when you get on a hole where it's a complete opposite, then you absolutely pull and it goes 15 yards left.
Right.
So for me, I try to spend maybe 30 to 45 minutes max on the range, do my like little floaty drill. And then I go putt. Probably putting, it depends on how fast I do my drills. Sometimes I can be there for 2 hours and sometimes I can be there for half an hour. But I always go into a practice with a plan, because I think that's the best thing you can do. I'm super plan oriented, because my dad has always made me. So mm-hmm. I think I always go into a day saying, okay, this is the drills I want to do with chipping, and I'm not going to leave until I do it. And then same with putting, because I just don't feel accomplished when I don't do it. So it depends on like how fast I do all my drills. And I would say total amount what I spend on the course or in general would be probably like 3 hours.
Okay. And so you think that, I mean, from what I see, the usual weekend golfer like goes to the range, goes through their bag, and then right before they tee off, they do like a little bit of putting around. That's not recommended, mm-hmm. It sounds like. You have to go there with a plan of like what you want to do for whether it's a half an hour or an hour, right?
I mean, It depends. This is like,
If you're
I
like a
play
50,
this for a living. Yeah.
no, but if you're like a 15 handicap and you want to like start winning some money and beating some people,
Yeah.
sounds like you need to go to the practice green with a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think so. I think with everything you do in life, you kind of have to have a plan. You can't just be like, okay, maybe I'll do this today. Because if you have a plan, you will get better at it. You know, you'll make sure like you have to do it this way.
Got it. Okay. A couple quick questions came in.
Mm-hmm.
One was, who is your coach? Someone was asking.
David Whelan. He's from the UK, but he was the director of golf at IMG Academy. So he now
Okay.
resides in Lakewood Ranch, Florida.
Okay. And he played on the European tour or the PGA tour?
Yeah. No, he played on the European tour. He has one win out there. He won in a playoff against Nick Faldo.
Oh, okay. Claim to fame.
Cool, yeah.
Another, just because it just came in right now, I'll ask you. So one is from, I think it's Lane, is how you say her name. It says, my daughter is 9 and we've been to the driving range a few times. What tips do you have around training or organizations she can be part of to learn more? It says, what did you do? I think you had a bit of a different situation, but what would you recommend for a 9-year-old girl, for a parent?
So what I did was I started getting lessons when I was 6. I started really like actually hitting balls when I started walking, because my sister's 5 years older. So she was already getting lessons once I started walking, but I started getting lessons when I was 6, started playing a couple events here and there when I was 9. But I think at that age, you really got to make sure that you put her somewhere where she has fun doing something. Like I had a great coach where I started hitting like flop shots over trees, and she would just challenge me in really fun ways. But at the end of the day, I was also getting better. So I think you need to find someone where it challenges her, but also makes her always want to come back, because I think that's really important at a young age, so they don't get burnt out. So their love just keeps fueling on.
Okay.
So I have 8 tees. So I always start out with 4 feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, tee down here. And then I go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just around the hole. And that drill, so I go clockwise and counterclockwise. So I have to make 16 in a row. And I think that really tests, obviously, mental game, because it gets super frustrating. But I think that's a really good drill for someone that it puts a lot of pressure on you, because when you do drills, you want to put pressure on yourself, because when you're, let's say, on the last hole and you have to make a putt to either make a cut or to win, you have to kind of practice that pressure a little. I first started out with the line, and then I go to that drill.
Right. Kind of coming back to your idea about beating balls on the range, even the way you say it, it's like, this is more like, you can't go have dinner until you sink whatever your number is. For an amateur, maybe it's 10 in a row or whatever you want to do is your goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I like stuff that challenges me. And I think on the range, I can't really challenge myself. So that's why I spend so much time on the putting green. And putting, at the end of the day, if you don't get the ball in the hole, then like it sucks. Like you can hit it as well as you can, but at the end of the day, if you don't get in the hole, like there's nothing you can do. Like,
so we haven't talked about this, but when you talked in the beginning about, where you think the ball's going to fall into the cup. Is it straight on? Is it coming from the side?
mm-hmm.
Do you visualize your putts when you're standing behind it, or do you just think about where it's going to roll into the hole, or both? How do you think about it?
I actually I see a line, really. I see a line that it needs to go in at, like mentally, visually, that I see it by myself. And I also have this drill, same thing with the chalk line. You can do it if you want. You can maybe push it to like 10 feet. And I feel like maybe the longer you go, the more you'll start visualizing the line. But when you said speed, like the way it goes in the hole, I got this drill from Brad Faxon. I went and got a lesson from him not too long ago. And he gave me this drill where actually it's really cool. So you take I think he gave me 3 or 6 balls. I'm not 100% sure. And you have to hit 3 balls where they just die in. and then you have to, but these are all in a row, and then 3 balls where it goes in at a normal speed, and then 3 balls where it like hits the back of the cup, pops up, and goes back in.
Huh.
And like you have to do, he made me do uphill ones in a row and then downhill ones in a row. And the downhill ones, like you're really actually like, you're like tapping these putts, and then you don't really like, for the ones where you have to hit the back of the cup, you're like really like hesitant, I feel like. But the more you do this drill, the more it like frees you up. So I feel like if you're really like hesitant over short putts, I feel like that's a really good drill to do, where you just like ram it in the back of the hole.
Yeah. And this is so like gives you confidence that you like have not just one way to make a putt, but like 3 ways to make a putt, or is it more about your distance control?
I think it's more of like visually doing
Okay.
it, like knowing that you can make it at any speed. Because like obviously if you ram it in the hole, my coach has always said, pick your speed and then pick your line when it comes to putting. So obviously if you ram it in the back of the hole, you barely play any break.
Yep.
Obviously, like the more less speed you have, obviously the more it's going to break. The grain is going to take it or whatever.
Right.
So that's something like my coach and I have always really worked on as well.
Trevor asks, what's a good drill, or I guess how you deal with nervousness over short putts?
I think, you know, sometimes I'm really great over them, and then sometimes I struggle a lot over them as well. But the best thing is for me, I just close my eyes and breathe, really. I kind of think of the Happy Gilmore scene where he's like, think of something happy, have my happy place, and I kind of calm down a little. But I think it's like, for me, it's crucial. I have a really great caddy, and he really helps me with that too.
So this question's from Dan. He says, you know, I've parred every hole in my home course once, but I still can't string them all together. Do you have any advice for whether it's course management or just mental drills or something to help me try and put them all together in one round?
It's definitely, I would say it's a combination of everything. Like I have on my home golf course, I have this one hole that I can never hit the fairway. I just pipe it just straight right into the trees every single time. And some people just you want it so much that you like mentally block yourself. So I feel like the more people are like looser and the less pressure you put on yourself and just go out and enjoy your time, I feel like the better people play.
Great. Nelly, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I enjoyed it. I can tell by some of the questions people were really into it. I'm definitely going to go to the green with a plan next time and spend less time on the green, which I think might help my game. I hope all of you enjoy this as well. It's not every day you get to sit at home and have the #2 female golfer in the world give you a personal putting lesson. I hope you all go out there and take advantage of these tips. Nelly, thanks so much. I hope to see you out there on tour soon.
Yeah,
bye,
hopefully. Fingers crossed. Bye.
Take care.